guys! The dollhouse that I have lovingly referred to as the meth lab house is finally finished. Here's a reminder of what it looked like the day I found it on the side of the road. I don't know which room was the worst, the meth lab kitchen, the dining room with bright orange carpet, the living room with the death trap staircase, the bedroom with the hot pink carpet, the bathroom, which is just gross, or the upstairs bedroom with stains. It took me several days to remove all of the carpeting and wallpaper. My goal with this house was to use as much of my Strombecker furniture collection as possible. Strombecker was produced in the state of Illinois as early as the 1930s. I began this upstairs children's room by painting the walls just to get a clean slate. Then I decided to add this Le Chinoiserie wallpaper. I just think it went perfectly with the twin beds. This house features many handmade details, unfortunately including these bolts located near the ceiling. I decided to disguise them by painting them a cross between this green and this beige color to help disguise them. Then when I cut my wallpaper, I just added holes. I didn't want to try to remove the bolts. I feel like that would be getting in over my head. I was able to disguise them pretty well. Here is a shot of the room after the wallpaper is complete. I used some sage green chalk paint to paint the banister trim. Then I decided to embellish my wooden curtains using inspiration from this book. I added some lavender detail also with chalk paint. My goal is to get a relatively simple folk art kind of look. To make the flooring, I got some thin veneer paper from Joann Fabric. I glued some thin wood strips to the back, and then when the glue was dry, I cut them apart. So I'm going to cut these into strips and kind of stagger them, kind of like my actual wood floor, very similar to this. Just see how none of the seams are all lined up. They're just kind of staggered randomly. So that's what I'm going to do here with my wood flooring. I drew some guidelines with a pencil on the floor and then glued the flooring strips in with tacky glue. Then I started cutting my baseboards with my miter saw. I painted the baseboards the same color as the banister trim. I used tacky glue to install the baseboard. To make the mattresses for the beds, I took some cardboard and I cut it to fit the bed. Then I used tacky glue to attach some cheap packing foam. Here, and it just goes whoop, like that. And then you just wrap your sheet around it and then make sure you leave a little bit of gap. See how there's gaps around it so that you can tuck the sheets around it. On my very last trip to Joann Fabric, I found this fabric in the bargain pile, and I was very pleased because it matched both bedrooms I was going to be working on. I find myself using Aleene's tacky glue and blue painter's tape for almost everything that I do. I know I could use masking tape, but I just always have blue painter's tape hanging around. I also like to reuse the pieces because it is kind of expensive. And so now I'm just kind of wrapping the sheet around the mattress like you would wrap a present. And sometimes I don't even bother finishing the bottom. I get them to fit into the bed very tightly, and then I'll just leave them. If you want, you could glue a piece of felt or something on the bottom just to really finish it up, but no one's going to see it. Looks nice and comfortable. When I make pillows, I sew 3 sides together, stuff them with cotton balls, and then I just glue the 4th side and clamp it shut until it dries. To make a sheet, I just cut some more fabric, and then I fold over one of the sides twice, and iron it down. And then I used tacky glue to attach the trim. Okay, this room is ready to receive some final details. Because of the colors and the fact that it came with two pre-painted pinkish lavender beds, I decided that this room should belong to two young girls. And also I have two daughters that help me with my videos all the time. So this is basically their room. I went to Rockler Woodworking and Hardware and purchased some actual wood veneer for this little hallway area. Throughout the rest of the house, I used a lot of busy wallpapers with colorful patterns. I just thought we needed somewhere for the eye to rest. Veneer glue can take a very long time to dry, so here you can see me jerry-rigging a system of clamps and ways to add pressure to the veneer so that it would dry perfectly straight. This ended up being more of a challenge than I thought it would be, but I think that the end result was so worth it. I painted the inside of the archways, and then it was quite a task to cut the veneer to fit perfectly around each archway. Here I added a tiny Art Deco style print. I wanted to preserve something from the original house, so I decided to reuse this mirror. I used my laser cutter to make a new frame. I want to do a quick dry fit before I paint the mirror frame and attach the mirror. I'm going to paint the mirror black and use it in the bathroom. Hollywood Regency style has a lot of tropical inspired motifs. I decided to use this wallpaper that has birds of paradise on it from Itsy Bitsy Mini. I think this will be great for the bathroom, which has bright green furniture. I found some hot pink perfume bottles in my collection, so I decided to design a couple of corner shelves so that I would have a way to display them. And here are the little perfume bottles that I'm going to glue to the shelves, and then there's a picture that's going to go in the bathroom also. Here is my towel rack that's going to go over the bathtub. I haven't installed lighting on the ceiling yet, so I'm using a flashlight, but here is the bathroom. I used the Itsy Bitsy paper on top and some pink scrapbook paper on the bottom. I've got some black chair rail. On my woodcutter, designed a little faucet that I thought was in keeping with the Strombecker style. There's the mirror. I designed the towel racks, and I cut up a washcloth that was in my own linen cupboard because it was the perfect color. And then on this side, you've got a little tiny toilet paper holder and the flamingo picture. For the primary bedroom, I chose this lei chinoiserie paper that is called French Deco. I thought that is perfect for my Art Deco theme and will also go very well with the cream-colored bedroom furniture. For this project, I made 24 picture frames on my laser woodcutter. I also pulled 6 or 7 frames out of my collection. All right, so this is the primary bedroom. I put some Maxfield Parrish prints on the wall. I used a antique frame that I had in my collection, and I just framed a print that I found in an art magazine. There's the beds. On the floor, I decided to do something different. I thought it's funny that this is a primary bedroom or master bedroom with twin beds. It's very I Love Lucy or the Dick Van Dyke Show, right? So to kind of show that the beds go together, I changed the flooring to kind of make a little bedding or bed nook area. And I also changed the grain so that the beds would be connected by the wood grain as a symbolic thing, I guess. And then I put in a picture of my husband and myself and a couple other art prints on the wall. And then we've got the Art Deco vanity, which is going to be really fun to style. My Uncle Rob painted this wonderful acrylic painting for my 40th birthday, so I'm going to put it in a place of honor. Normally, I wouldn't paint vintage dollhouse furniture, but these lamps were yellow and I was just so tired of yellow lamps, so I painted them turquoise. These will go in the primary bedroom on the vanity. Creating this staircase was probably the biggest challenge of doing this dollhouse project. I built it piece by piece on my laser cutter, stopping in between each cut to make sure that everything fit. I didn't want to move the hole in the ceiling where the original staircase went through. I did decide, however, that I had to change directions with the staircase in order to fit as much of my vintage Strombecker furniture as possible, hence the 90-degree angle as you go down the stairs. I'm ready to hang more art in the living room. This piece is actually a photograph of the paint palette that my 10-year-old daughter uses when she does her acrylic painting. My grandfather went to art school in the 1930s and he painted that bridge. And these are more of my grandfather's works. And here I'm clamping the frames to the backing. I chose to hang these in the dining room because they will look great with the chairs. I wanted to use as many old objects in this house as possible. I found a pair of brass candlesticks in my collection. They're a little bit oversized and they did not have any candles, so I decided to whittle down a wooden dowel and make my own. So then I just took a finger drill, drilled out a little hole. I actually already pre-drilled the hole, just wanted to show you. And then you take the little tiny piece of floral wire. Okay, and you just go, whoop, see? And like I had whittled away that. I just put it in there. And now I've got candles for my brass candlesticks. The kitchen needed a lot more accessories, so I decided to make a hanging peg rod for the kitchen utensils. Here I'm also cutting out the bathroom tub faucet. I found these slightly oversized wooden kitchen utensils in my collection. So here I am inserting some tiny dowels into the pegboard that I made on my cutter. And this way I can have a nice tidy place to hang the utensils. I added some trim around the window in the kitchen. This tank top was half off of $2.99 at the thrift store. I used the velvet tank top to make these pillows, and one benefit of using a pre-made piece of clothing is that I already have a seam already made. So now I only have to sew 2 sides together before filling it, where normally I'd have to sew 3 sides. My daughters Ivy and Violet created these paintings on the left and right.